So we just laid out our stall to be one specific problem solver. And so we get a lot of people finding us. And what we're trying to be is the trusted reservation platform at the heart of the cycling industry. So what that means is that we plug in to the ecosystems of the cycling world. So we do the partnerships that make sense. We do the integrations that make sense. We solve the features that bike shops really care about.
Today on my podcast, my guest is Doug. Doug is the founder and the CEO of BRM Bike.Rent Manager. Doug, welcome. Thank you for joining me. I really appreciate this. Please introduce yourself and the company and tell us what you guys do.
Hi, Pete. Thanks very much for having me here. Very interested to be on your show. So yeah, let me tell you a little bit about BRM. We are a bike rental management platform. We've been going about 15 years. And what we do is we provide a one-stop shop for everybody's needs. Anybody who's involved in renting or demoing bikes to the public, we provide the platform to do that. So online booking, payments, customers, a certain amount of marketing, maintenance, everything so that they can basically run a smooth operation with their customers. So we take care of the whole deal. And some people call us sort of like ERP for bike shop software. So that's what we do. And yeah, it's been quite a fun ride for the last 15 years.
Amazing. I always hear the same story, is a fun ride. And I'm glad that you've actually framing this way, right? Because some people have, it's so arduous, been difficult. Now you've chosen this life, right? You've chosen to launch something and go and sell it to people. Awesome. Absolutely love your product. And we've discussed that when I met you the first time, that I love riding a bike, and I always try to rent bikes on holiday, and even if I'm different cities, I prefer this method to any other form. So that's why it really excited me to jump on you, find out really how you all started, right? Who is your main customer? So let's start with this. Who is your typical customer? Is it rental shops that already existed for some time and they just found that they scaled up a little bit more and it's not enough whatever they've been using for them? Or is it someone approaching you that is thinking about this and they want to start with the appropriate software?
Yeah, no, thanks, Pete. It's a great question. I mean, it's really interesting because bike rental is actually quite a big thing. And I don't think I realized that when I got started. I actually had my own bike shop here in France and I started renting bikes. And I had no idea that it was quite a big industry. And I was initially looking for software myself and, surely somebody's solved this problem. But there wasn't any. And the entire industry was running on spreadsheets. So back to your question about, who is my ICP, ideal customer profile, it's really a surprisingly large subset of the bike industry, renting bikes. So there's two flavors of customer. The first one is somebody who rents for profit. And now they might have, the sweet spot is around 25 bikes that we have a lot of people who have even thousands of bikes on our platform. So, you might have 25, 50 or 100 bikes and you rent them out to make profit. Now, the reason is that it sort of complements your retail side of your business because it's a really different activity. And what you might find is that if you're in a tourist spot like the foot of Mont Ventoux near where I live, or maybe near a beach or something, or, some sort of tourist attraction, then you find the right bike to suit the terrain. So we're not talking about utilitarian transportation. We're talking about proper discerning customers wanting recreational bikes to get the most out of whatever environment they're at. It might be an e-bike, might be a carbon fiber bike, it might be a mountain downhill bike. So the point is that it is quite a big industry and a lot of people do really, really well out of it by running that sort of niche activity. And there are, we've got approaching 1,000 stores using our platform worldwide. And we estimate there's at least 10,000 stores who do some kind of rental activity in the world. Now, alongside that, you've got a different kind of customer of ours, which is what we call a demo customer. So in other words, they have a demo fleet and they run it a little bit like a rental operation, but the objective is to just sell more bikes. So, they've got the latest, whatever it is that they're trying to showcase, and you come in and rather than just looking at it in the showroom, you actually take it for a ride. Now, it might be just riding around the car park, but more often than not, where they're very successful is they get themselves next to a kind of, it could be a park, or it could be a downhill mountain. They strategically place themselves so that it's proper riding where you can actually get to see the benefit of the machine you're looking at. So that's called demo, and it's a huge part of the bike industry. And of course, as we all know, the bike industry is changing so much. There are a lot of people buying online now and going D2C. And one of the ways for independent bike dealers to fight back is by offering a demo experience. You can't get that if you're buying online. And so actually touching the product, actually riding it, trying out the suspension, trying out the feel of some tarmac, whatever, you can't really beat that unless you're actually doing that. So in order to do that, you need to set up a proper demo framework. And that is not just a great equipment, but it's a great booking process. So, when you're browsing, it's like, oh, I think I want to try that latest gravel. You make a booking, you come in, you get it. They actually know you're coming. It's actually set up how you want it. And they give you the right instructions, take the trail and go around the corner, see you in a few hours or see you tomorrow if you want. Unless that experience is really good, you're not going to sell bikes. It's like if you were buying like a Mercedes or a Ferrari, you'd want to be treated very specially the minute you think about that thing. So, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to create exceptional experiences for the riders on behalf of our customers. So we really view ourselves as a sort of facilitator in the role of experiences in the cycling industry.
Yeah, really cool. Yeah, I didn't know though, it's that big that you can actually build a business just offering support for them. But it makes absolute sense. I think Tesla are doing something similar. I think there are Teslas scattered around in like superchargers, and you can just book it online, take it for a spin, right, all by yourself. And obviously, the better the experience you're going to give to your potential client, they're definitely interested in this. You're going to win that confirmation that everything's going to be fine from the purchasing process, maybe even aftercare when you actually sell the bike. And the bikes are not cheap anymore. And, this is quite a big purchase now, right?
Exactly. It's a premium product.
It is. When you look properly at the bikes, it's comparable with second-hand car, maybe a bit all beat, but like this kind of money, right? And it's very popular. Awesome. And yes, and going back to the actually rentals, on holiday, we've discussed that last time. I do this very often, and I find two ways of doing that. Either I see someone, right, I run the corner and I have to go and speak to them and just get it on their spot or book it for tomorrow. And sometimes, obviously, I would like to just book it, find it in Google Maps and have a very easy, like, this is reserved for me and my family, 3 bikes, right, are ready and waiting tomorrow at 11, and I know it works. It's not very often the case, right? It's leaving the phone number and, hey, call us, right? It was like, well, I'm in Spain, I don't speak Spanish, do you speak English? It's always this kind of this friction there. And this is what you resolve for them, right? Having a all system very often for booking, which is something that instantly is going to make them money. But tell me also about that back end of your solutions, right? About the maintenance.
No, exactly. No, it's so funny. I mean, it's literally the question to ask is, what are you doing for people? And we are transforming the booking experience. So not just the rental experience, but the booking. And like I said, it starts when somebody thinks about it and they're browsing, and they're like, oh God, can I phone that Spanish number? That's not going to go very well. So that's when it begins. And you need to be showcasing your bikes in a very accessible way, very bookable. Going back to your question, when I started this, I was like, I'm doing a bike rental system, 15 years ago. And people are like, oh man, I rented a bike and it was a terrible experience. They had some contact form and I walked into the shop and they said to me, Jeff, we got any bikes? We've got a bloke here says he's booked. Literally, I've heard that story 1,000 times in the last 15 years. It's more common than not. So we've still got our work cut out for us, because back to your point about the back office, what we believe is that the best booking system is the booking system that the bike shop actually uses. So it feels like it's all about booking, whereas actually it's about getting installed in bike shops. Because unless you do that, then you don't really stand a chance of winning that war, which is we're trying to make the vast majority of booking experiences, rental experiences, demo experiences, really, really exceptional rather than very, very disappointing, which they all too often are. So it is all about the back office. And so, yes, we have a booking widget, which is a fantastic modern booking experience, but it's more about the back office. So we have software that like I say, we're installed in, I say installed, it's a cloud-based system. But we're being used by nearly 1,000 bike shops around the world, half of them North America, half of them rest of the world. And what makes a difference with our software is that they actually log in the morning. They come in, open the bike shop up at 9 a.m., fire up BRM, and it tells them who's coming in today, what bikes have we got to prepare, who's got to pay, who's late. So they're literally their hub of their entire business from a rental point of view. And that just avoids all that kind of surprises. Oh, I didn't know you were coming, or have you even got my bike? What? There's so much confusion unless you have a system that tells you exactly what's happening. So the heart and soul of BRM is the planner. So it tells you literally who's coming, who's going, all that sort of stuff, which bookings you have. It tracks the communication, it tracks the payments, tracks the maintenance. And then what we always say when we sell the software to people, we got the little diagram with 3 circles. And one of them is scheduling. Have you got room to take the booking? So either in a walk-in or an online scenario, is it free and available? Point of sale, which is, so Pete, here's your bike, and sign the contract, give me some money. And then maintenance. That's the 3rd circle. So what we do is we get people around that reservation lifecycle as efficiently and transparently as possible. And the nice thing about maintenance being one of the key circles is that if you think about it, you're going mountain biking this afternoon. So we need to maybe set the suspension up according to your weight. We maybe need to put SPD pedals on for you. So you told us all that in advance, online booking, and it's ready for you. It's got a little tag, Pete's coming in, hand you the bike, and it's brilliant. So the point is, and then when you come back, we wash it down because you went through all those big puddles. We tune it up and we get it ready for the next person. So that circularity which we're doing relates to pre-rental preparation and post-rental maintenance. But the point is, unless you have full clarity on that at the bike shop level, what have I got to do today? Who's coming in? Who's coming back? You don't stand a chance of providing a great service. So it's that kind of a global visibility that we provide bike shops. And we always say, we'll do the admin, you do the bikes. You talk to the customers, you get the bikes ready, and we'll just tell you what you need to do. So we'd sort of take that off that load off their mind so that we can just take care of that.
Really cool. Yeah, as you said, like ERP, CRM for your customers, just being prepared, right? You see the scenarios you were saying about, I've just experienced them firsthand myself so many times. And then obviously, can you leave me 50, 100 euro deposit in cash? It's like, I'm going to have cash for 2 years. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Can we just not do it online? And this, we know from innovation, that could be set up before I walk in that store, right? I wanted to have, back a few years ago, little seat for my daughter when she was young. I want to see if it's in stock? Can you just install it in this particular bike, right? And everything is obviously always organized, but I need to go and speak to someone and it's no problem. But digital innovation and your software allows that to be prepared. By the time I am ready and I'm going on my trip, everything is sorted. They know exactly how much I need to pay. I can leave the deposit possibly online as well. And everything works great. Fantastic. Absolutely love this. How it all started, just remind me. So you came from the actually bike industry, right? You had your bike shop. And how did you pivot from this to building a software?
Yeah, no, well, thanks. I mean, actually the story begins before that. So I was a software developer for 10 years in London, and, I was kind of liking it, kind of hating London. I did 10 years, loved it for the first 9, hated it for the last 1. And I just needed to get out. I was a very outdoorsy person, and I spent every weekend trying to go down the M3 or the A3 to the countryside and getting stuck in traffic jams. So I was, so anyway, I kind of ran away to France about 20 years ago and bought a chambre d'hôtes and said, well, look, I'm just going to live in like the real world, start to do chambre d'hôtes, cycling holidays, just sort of, create an outdoorsy lifestyle. So I turned my back on software development and I did that. And then that led to people coming on our cycling holidays and saying, hey, I don't want to bring my bike from wherever to France. Can you rent me one? So then we started just buying bikes. We bought like 5, 10. Anyway, we ended up with 50 bikes through either people renting them on our holidays or walking in our little village here in France. So that just happened. That was very organic, and kind of how I wanted to live my life was, rather than having a boss and deadlines, I kind of wanted to just make it up as I go along. But then, like I say, a couple of years into running the village, the bike shop, I was like, well, this is really quite complicated. When you've got 3 bikes, you don't need a system. When you've got 50, you definitely need a system. Otherwise, you're just drowning in admin and getting everything wrong, and it's really embarrassing, people turning up. And so I was looking for a system, and there wasn't one. So I thought, well, okay, how hard can it be, eh? Famous last words. So I would say I dusted off my old computer, but I didn't even have one. So I had to buy a computer and like reteach myself how to program, sort of 7 or 8 years after having given up. And I thought, well, I'll just write the system. And I did. So I wrote the entire system from scratch from the perspective of a bike shop. So what do I need as a bike shop operator to do my job really, really well? And like I said, it started with maintenance, customers, then inventory, then reservations. Now, fast forward 10 years, and what I discovered was the competition was sort of people like FareHarbor and Peak Pro, and these guys are very big generic reservation systems. So they come at the problem from sell something, take a booking, and then, which bike they're going to ride is sort of an afterthought. Because it's kind of like, okay, well, let's just, we've got 3 of them, sell them one. Whereas we start with the bike. And that's, to me, that's all about the first thing we said in the conversation, which is that the great booking experience is not about the booking widget. It's about installing the right software in the bike shop. And that journey starts with the bike. Is it ready? Is it maintained? Is it, is it clean? Has it got the right pedals on? And then you build out kind of like the onion rings of a great experience on top of that. And then that, that's why I think we've grown so well, because people respect that sort of inventory first approach that we've done. So yeah, very long origin story.
Yeah.
Developer, ran away from it all, tourism, bike shop, and then kind of like, wow, there's an opportunity here. And initially I thought, hey, I'm doing bike rental software. But then I realized it was actually way bigger than that, this because it's rentals and demos. And demos are even more important. That there's a great end-to-end experience as well.
Really cool story. You sound like you don't regret moving out of London and changing your career.
I watch a few of these kind of business podcasts and cycling podcasts, and I'm not going to lie, it's been very tough journey. It's not been, 15 years of kind of laughing.
Yeah.
But, that's, if you're going to build anything significant, there are going to be challenges. And trying to create a global business from a village in France is challenging, but it's been enormously rewarding as well. And I genuinely, whenever I go traveling on holiday, I go into bike shops and I come across my software and I'm like, oh, well, they're using VRM. And they, it's very, very rewarding.
Yeah. Doug, you're not trying anymore. You've achieved this. 1,000 clients, many countries. You are a global company from a village in France. So how was finding the very first clients, right? Now you have the MVP of the software, you've written it. How did, obviously you installed it in your own shop, right? And then how did you manage to find it up to 1,000 now?
Yeah. Well, no, very funny. I mean, so I decided for the first 3 months, I said, I'll just go into a room and program just to see, because you sort of get a feeling whether or not you've cracked it. In software terms, if you can kind of get the problem down to its base elements, then you're sort of onto something. So I thought, well, I'm not even going to speak to anyone for 3 months. And I went in where I still am actually, kind of my shed in the garden, and started programming. And then I said, right, well, there's no point doing this forever. I'm going to literally have to phone people up. So I decided to phone 10 people randomly. And I got a little list of, in the south of England, France, and probably it was England and France. And I said, I'll phone 10. And I need to get at least one person showing some interest. Otherwise, I'd probably better go and find something else to do. So I phoned 10 and literally call number 3, the first 2 calls were pretty much like, what? I don't even know what you want. No, we're busy. Goodbye. Just classic cold call. But like caller number 3 or 4, and cycle hire, I'm going to call them out. They're still with us 15 years later.
Wow.
So I sold to Bernard. And he's been using it ever since. So he was kind enough to say, well, this is exactly what I've been looking for. I hate using spreadsheets. And I was hoping someone would build something. And he's been on the whole journey. So literally client number 1. And he helped to shape the tool. So he was like, okay, so I can kind of see my planner. It'd be really cool if you could do the following. And then we build it for him. And then, so we had client number 1. And then I just repeated. So I was like, right, okay, how do I double my clients from 1 to 2 and same process? So for the first 2 or 3, 4 years, I was doing all the selling as well as the programming, the supporting, the marketing, everything. And yeah, it's really rewarding. You just have to knock on doors, talk to people, ideally in person if you can, but it's difficult to get around every bike shop in the world. But you visit any that you can in person. Try and get 5 minutes because bike shops are always chaotic. People coming in and out, deliveries and stuff. And you often start your sales pitch and then 30 seconds in, they're like, oh, hang on a minute, Doug. And then they have to deal with the delivery for half an hour or something. And then you come back to it. So it's tricky environment. But yeah, carried on doing that for a number of years.
Amazing. And you had a weapon. You came from a bike shop. You said, I've built that for myself to start with. I know exactly the problem. Not a salesperson that just was left with a task of selling software to particular companies. Awesome. Fantastic story. And a shout out to your first client. Great to hear it's still with you. It just shows that I can just imagine you moved with the needs over the years of exactly what your clients needed, and you just built the features based on that rather than artificially trying to build a feature and then trying to push it, right?
Well,
awesome.
Well, exactly. I mean, it's what they call product-led growth. It was all about product, serving creating the value, solving the problems they need. And a lot of startup advice is founder-led sales for years, because who knows it better than me, right? I A, was a bike shop operator, B, wrote the system. So it's very difficult. When we eventually had salespeople, it was very difficult to transition from me selling to having one or two salespeople, which we latterly did.
Okay.
But that, you've got to have a very established product, revenues, reputation, branding, before you can really make that leap. But yeah, you're quite right. That opens a lot of doors. Literally, I had this problem and I solved the problem for myself. Are you interested? That approach works well.
Awesome. And how does your new business development work now? Well, clearly you're not on the phone now calling 10,000 people to have thousands of them interested, right? How do you operate in this space now as a company?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. Thanks. I mean, we benefited from first mover advantage. So we literally Bike.Rent manager. We did what it says on the tin. And so we've done very well on SEO. So we just laid out our stall to be one specific problem solver. And so we get a lot of people finding us. And what we're trying to be is the trusted reservation platform at the heart of the cycling industry. So what that means is that we plug in to the ecosystems of the cycling world. So we do the partnerships that make sense. We do the integrations that make sense. We solve the features that bike shops really care about. So there's generic software, which is reservation. And they're big companies. They can do attractive marketing and attractive pricing. But what we do, we also do attractive marketing and pricing, but we're very, very niche in bike. So, like the pedal requirements for a booking, it's like we really care about that stuff because that's the detail that makes all the difference. And specific bikes, specific setup, specific maintenance life cycles. And, all of that stuff is the devil is in the detail, which we do by doubling down. So yeah, most of our sales come still to this day from inbound, luckily for us. We've always done a bit of outbound, but it makes up a relatively small part of who we sell to. And we just have a very good retention rate, because people stay with us and they, like I said, client number one still with us, and many of them have been with us more than a decade. So people do find the product, contribute to the product, and therefore stay on the product. So we let our customers essentially define the scope of the product.
Gotcha. Awesome. Fantastic story. And the fact that you're taking, your market share and you are there with Google ranking you up because you've been for years, you just focus on that one thing. You never pivoted into, we had that discussion, scooters or anything that you rent, right? You just focus on the bike and the rental and really supporting them with the best software you can. And how does that, compare with the demoing, right? Because clearly if you were building everything about rental, those guys may not just click that might be for them. And probably quite a lot of shops don't even know that this is now the way forward of that's how I could sell. I can just need to have a stand with few bikes, right? People can, in a busy area, try them out, test them out. And then it's going to really allow us to have better conversations for salespeople to sell the bike. So is that strategy working also for the retailers and producers, manufacturers?
Yeah. I mean, it's very interesting. Like you say, as a company, you need to have a product which is universally applicable to enough people. There's no point me having an amazing product if I can sell it to 3 people. So you have to get the appeal broad enough and yet still be specific enough to create real value. And I think that's what we've done with bike. So a lot of our competition, like I say, they're just in the generic space. They'll rent you a digger or a, windsurfer or a bike. So, but we're bike. And we also do some ski, but that's mainly because mountain resorts the very same company we're selling to does bike and ski. So there's a specific reason why we do both. But where it comes to rental and demo, they really are very close cousins. And there's so many things which are exactly the same. The main difference is you may not charge for it. So demo might be free or refundable if you purchase the bike. But other than that, it's exactly the same thing. It's all about the bike, the booking process, the preparation, the communication history, the maintenance, all of that stuff is completely common. And in fact, that's kind of, potentially getting on to the next topic. But what we realize is that we sort of did a mini pivot, I suppose, from rental to demo. And we're also in the process this year of doing another pivot from rental and demo to everything reservation as well. So we'll get onto that in a minute. But basically what we do is we look at the strengths that our platform has, and it's essentially built up as a number of layers. So as you said before, ERP, we've got a CRM system, got an inventory management system, got a reservation system, online booking, kiosk systems, signatures. So we've got all of these different layers which provide us the ability for our customers to do great service. And then we say, well, how can we apply those layers to solve different problems? And what we realized recently was that is that commonality between these different use cases of rental, demo, but also like tours, activities and events, maybe the Étape du Tour, maybe an afternoon ride to the winery with a guide. They're all activities, but you do them on a bike. So therefore, it's the commonalities is that stack. It's the communication with the customer. It's the bikes, the preparation, all the detail, and that's what we do. So yeah, we've kind of branched out in that regard as well.
Amazing. So let's talk about this. Talk about a little bit more detail into the future. So different rentals, for example, I don't know, equipment, seaside equipment. I don't know, paddle boards and so on. This is quite popular, very seasonal, but very, very popular. Or you're still staying in bikes and maybe bike shops that fix the bikes, right? They still need to have, and sometimes they're not that good about communication with the client and chasing when it's ready, right? And then payments and deposits and so on. So which direction? I take it different rentals.
Yeah. No, actually, so what we're doing, we've decided to stay in bike. So we are the bike.
Stay in bike. Yeah, gotcha. Maybe I didn't click on that first. Yeah.
Yeah. So BRM, we've always been called BRM, and it stood for Bike.Rent Manager. Got up here behind me. What we're doing is we're changing what the R is for. So the R is not for rental anymore. It's for reservations. Okay. So, there's kind of two dimensions you could go on. You could go out across, like you say, windsurfers, diggers and stuff, or you could stay in the same domain bike, and then you branch out for different flavors of reservation. So really what we did was we took a look at the industry over the last couple of years. We did some research. And we thought that the bike industry really consists of two experiences, two things that are happening. The first one is retail, which is selling bikes, parts, accessories. And that's the traditional hub of what you call a bike shop. An independent bike retailer, they're all about selling stuff. And then what they also do on the side is what we call experiences. So then partly to compete with the Amazons of the world, what they do is they offer something that you can't do in an online context, which is you offer real experiences where you touch the bike. Now, they may be rentals, demos, like you say, booking your bike in for a repair, a tour, activity, and event, or it might be a bike fitting. All of these things are experiential and they fit into the reservation category. So the way we see it is there's retail, experiences, and we're trying to take care of the second of the two for the bike industry, which is everything to do with reservations. So we're trying to become, this year is the year that we're launching this, the trusted reservation platform at the heart of the cycling industry. And the really exciting thing is that there's all these actors in the industry that want this to happen. So the manufacturers, your Specialized, your Treks and your Canada, these guys, they want a platform that they can give to their customers to be the trusted platform. Then you've got the independent bike shops. They want to operate and they want this thing to exist, just like I did when I was an operator. And then you want the customer. They don't want a disjointed, random phone number or a contact form or something. They want kind of like Airbnb or Booking.com for the bike world, all of those touch points. So that's what we're doing. And it's a bit of a mini pivot this year, but it's really, like I say, it's leveraging our stack, CRM, communication, inventory, and applying it to different flavors of reservation. So that's the particular strategy we've taken. Double down on bike, not be tempted to kind of like, you can sell to these windsurfers over there. Stay focused, avoid the sort of obvious distractions, which are all too easy to go down. If you take that belief system, we believe in bike, we believe in the bike industry, and we believe the bike industry deserves a dedicated platform specific to its needs, then you get to really interesting places because you start seeing, well, okay, if we are the bike people, how do we behave differently? So we hire people from the bike industry. So when we're talking to customers and supporting and selling, they've run a bike shop. We build the right features, the integrations, etc. So, once you've taken that direction, it really kind of unlocks a lot of other benefits as well for us and also for our customers.
Awesome. And so, exploring a few different options, which I absolutely love. Obviously, staying in your niche, right? Staying in the reservations and rental, and just exploring who else could do with this, right? I'm thinking we've been pretty well connected with hotel industry. Any hotel could launch that, and obviously they probably are thinking that's too complicated, how we do this, right? But what you would allow them is having a system that will essentially manage that for them, right? Obviously, there's still going to be some human input, but only when it's actually needed, right? Rather than taking a lot of their time. So there are many use case scenarios. Okay, so if someone listens to these conversations, would like to find out more, how to launch this, how to improve their operations, where could they find?
Yeah, well, no, absolutely. So we've got a website, bikerentalmanager.com. If you go to there, I'm sure we can put it down in the links. Basically, you can just get in touch and have a discovery call. So like I say, you'll talk to somebody from the bike industry, probably been in your shoes before, and we'll just talk you through the different solutions we have. Whether you've got 10 bikes, 50 or 1,000, we'll find the right solution for you. So that's probably the best way. If you want to just follow my journey, then I'm on LinkedIn under my own name as well. And then the other thing is that we haven't really talked about it today, but we have a sort of B2C portal for end users to find bike rental. So like we said, it's all about installing in bike shops, our software, but it's also about reaching the end renter. So as part of our software, we have in-store software and kiosks and signatures. Then we have the online component, which our bike shops can use. And then we have the B2C portal called Bike.Rent, where people can have a look. So check out Bike.Rent. You can create an account, a profile. You can go anywhere around the world, find all of our customers and make direct bookings. The nice thing is we don't charge a platform fee like you'll find on an Airbnb or something. So yeah, make use of that. But please do get in touch. We'd love to hear from you.
Thank you. We'll leave those links, obviously, and we'll make sure that we leave the link for the B2C branch. Thank you very much for joining me today. I really appreciated our call. We find out so much more about the backend and how you solve this and the story. Thanks for sharing. I really appreciate it.
Not at all, Pete. Really, really lovely to be on ScaleUp, and it's been great chatting today. Thank you.